The Chad Basin is the largest endorheic drainage basin in Africa, centered on Lake Chad. It has no outlet to the sea and contains large areas of desert to semi-arid savanna. The drainage basin is roughly coterminous with the sedimentary basin of the same name, but extends further to the northeast and east. The basin spans 7 countries, including most of Chad and a large part of Niger. It has an ethnically diverse population of about 30 million people as of 2011, growing rapidly. A combination of dams, increased irrigation, and reduced rainfall are causing shortages of water. Lake Chad continues to shrink. Geology. The geological basin, which is smaller than the drainage basin, is a Phanerozoic sedimentary basin formed during the plate divergence that opened the South Atlantic Ocean. The basin lies between the West African Craton and Congo Craton, and formed around the same time as the Benue Trough. It covers an area of about 2,335,000 square kilometers. It merges into the Alemden Basin to the west at the Damergo Gap between the Aarons intermassifs. The floor of the basin is made of Precambrian bedrock covered by more than 3,600 meters of sedimentary deposits. The basin may have resulted from the intersection of an air-Chad trough running NW and a Tabesti Cameroon trough running the SW. That is, the 2 deepest parts are an extension of the Benue Trough that runs northeast to the margin of the basin, and another extension running from below the present lake to below the T-acute and E-acute rift structure to the east of the Air Massif. The southern part of the basin is underlain by another elongated depression. This runs in an east direction and extends from the Yola arm of the Benue Trough. At times, parts of the basin were below the sea. In the northeastern part of the Benue Trough where it enters the Chad Basin, there are marine sediments from the late Cretaceous. These sediments seem to be considerably thicker towards the northeast. Boreholes under Maiduguri have found marine sediments 400 meters deep, lying over continental sediments 600 meters deep. The sea seems to have retreated from the western part of the basin in the Turonian. In the Maastrichtian the west was non-marine, but the southeast probably was still marine. No marine sediments have been found from the Paleocene. For most of the Quaternary, from 2.6 million years ago to the present, the basin seems to have been a huge well-watered plain, with many rivers and water bodies, probably rich in plant and animal life. Towards the end of this period the climate became drier. Around 20,000–40,000 years ago Aeolianite sand dunes began to form in the north of the basin. During the Holocene, from 11,000 years ago until recently, a giant lake Megachad covered an area of more than 350,000 square kilometers in the basin. It would have drained to the Atlantic Ocean via the Benue River. Stratigraphic records show that Megachad varied in size as the climate changed, with a peak about 2,300 years ago. The remains of fish and mollusks from this period are found in what are now desert regions. Drainage basin extent. The Chad Basin covers almost 8% of the African continent, with an area of about 2,434,000 square kilometers. It is ringed by mountains. The Air Mountains and the Termit Massif in Niger form the western boundary. To the northwest, in Algeria, are the Tassili Niger Mountains, including the 2,158 meters Jebel Azadao. The Tabesti Mountains to the north of the basin include Emikusi, the highest mountain in the Sahara at 3,415 meters. The Enedi Plateau lies to the northeast, rising to 1,450 meters. The Wadi Highlands lies the east. They include the Mara Mountains in Darfur up to 3,088 meters in height, the Adamawa Plateau, Jos Plateau, Biu Plateau, and Mandara Mountains lie to the south. To the west, the basin is separated by a watershed from the Niger River basin, and to the south it is separated by a basement dome from the Benue River. Further east, watersheds separate it from the Congo Basin and the Nile Basin. The lowest part of the basin is not Lake Chad, but the Bodeye Depression, at a distance of 480 kilometers to the northeast of the lake. The Bodeye Depression is just 155 meters above sea level in its deepest portion, while the surface of Lake Chad is 275 meters above sea level. The basin spans parts of 7 countries. These are climate and ecology. The northern half of the basin is desert, containing the Te-acute and E-acute desert, Ergov, Bilma and Jurab desert. South of that is the Sahel zone, dry savanna and thorny shrub savanna. The main rivers include riparian forests, flooding savannas and wetland areas. In the far south there are dry forests. Rainfall varies widely from year to year. The amount of annual rainfall is very low in the north of the basin, rising to 1,200 mm in the south. As late as 2000, the basin has remained home to large populations of wildlife. In the Sahel these include antelopes such as the Adax and Dama gazelle, and in the savanna there are korigam and red-fronted gazelle. The black-crowned crane and other water birds are found in the wetlands. There are populations of elephants, giraffes, and lions. The western black rhinoceros was once common but is now extinct. Elephants almost became extinct by the end of the 19th century due to European and American demand for ivory, but stocks have since recovered. People. History. Humans have lived in the inner Chad Basin from at least 8,000 years ago, and were engaging in agriculture and livestock management around the lake by 1000 BCE. Permanent villages were established to the south of the lake by 500 BCE at the start of the Iron Age. The Chad Basin contained important trade routes to the east and to the north across the Sahara. By the 5th century CE, camels were being used for trans-Saharan trade via the Fezzan, or to the east via Darfur, where slaves and ivory were exchanged for salt, horses, glass beads, and, later, firearms. After the Arabs took over North Africa in the 7th and 8th centuries, the Chad Basin became increasingly linked to the Muslim world. Trade and improved agricultural techniques supported more sophisticated societies, leading to the early kingdoms of Kanem, Wadai, and Bagwayami. Kanem rose in the 8th century in the region to the north and east of Lake Chad. The Safavid dynasty that ruled this kingdom had adopted Islam by the 12th century. The Kanem Empire went into decline, shrank, and in the 14th century was defeated by Bilala invaders from the Lake Fitri region. The Kanuri people led by the Safavid migrated to the west and south of the lake, where they established the Bornu Empire. By the late 16th century the Bornu Empire had expanded and recaptured the parts of Kanem that had been conquered by the Bulala. Satellite states of Bornu included the Sultanate of Damajuram in the west and Bagwayami to the southeast of Lake Chad. The Tunjur people founded the Wadai Kingdom to the east of Bornu in the 16th century. In the 17th century there was a revolt of the Marba people who established a Muslim dynasty. At first Wadai paid tribute to Bornu and Darfur, but by the 18th century Wadai was fully independent and had become an aggressor against its neighbors. To the west of Bornu, by the 15th century, the kingdom of Kano had become the most powerful of the Hausa kingdoms, in an unstable truce with the kingdom of Katsina to the north. Both of these states adopted Islam in the 15th and 16th centuries. Both were absorbed into the Sokoto Caliphate during the Fulani Jihad of 1805, which threatened Bornu itself. During the Conference of Berlin in 1884–85, Africa was carved up between the European colonial powers, defining boundaries that are largely intact with today's post-colonial states. On the 5th of August 1890, the British and French concluded an agreement to clarify the boundary between French West Africa and what would become Nigeria. A boundary was agreed along a line from Say on the Niger to Baruwa on Lake Chad, but leaving the Sokoto Caliphate in the British sphere. Parfait Louis Montiel was given charge of an expedition to discover where this line actually ran. On the 9th of April 1892, he reached Kukawa on the shore of the lake. Over the next 20 years, a large part of the Chad Basin was incorporated by treaty or by force into French West Africa. On the 2nd of June 1909, the Wadai capital of Abeke was occupied by the French. The remainder of the basin was divided by the British in Nigeria, who took Kano in 1903, and the Germans in Cameroon. The countries of the basin regained their independence between 1956 and 1962, retaining the colonial administrative boundaries. Population as of 2011, over 30 million people lived in the Chad Basin. The population is growing rapidly. Ethnic groups include Kanuri, Moba, Buduma, Hausa, Kanembu, Kotoko, Shuwa Arabs, Haddad, Kuri, Fulani and Manga. The largest cities are Kano and Maiduguri in Nigeria, Mara in Cameroon, N'Djamena in Chad and Diffa in Niger. Economy: the main economic activities are farming, herding and fishing. At least 40% of the rural population of the basin lives in poverty and routinely face chronic food shortages. Crop production based on rain is possible only in the southern belt. Flood recession agriculture is practiced around Lake Chad and in the riverine wetlands. Nomadic herders migrate with their animals into the grasslands of the northern part of the basin for a few weeks during each short rainy season, where they intensively graze the highly nutritious grasses. When the dry season starts, they move back south, either to grazing lands around the lakes and floodplains, or to the savannas further to the south. In the 2001 period, fisheries in the Lake Chad Basin provided food and income to more than 10 million people, with a harvest of about 70,000 tons. Fisheries have traditionally been managed by a system where each village has recognized rights over a defined part of the river, wetland or lake, and fishers from elsewhere must seek permission and pay a fee to use this area. The government only enforced rules and regulations to a limited extent. Fishery management practices vary. For example, on the Katagum River in Jigawa State, Nigeria, a village will have a water management council that collects a portion of each fisherman's catch and redistributes it among the villages, or sells it and uses the proceeds for communal projects. Local governments and traditional authorities are increasingly engaged in rent-seeking, collecting license fees with the help of the police or army.